The Forest Federation expectation is Stukeley smart and Newton neat. The Forest Federation expectation is Stukeley smart and Newton neat.
So you don't often see me dressed up in a suit, trying to look smart, but I've done this, I've put my jacket on, because I want to talk about being Stukeley smart and Newton neat. It's so important for leaders in school, it's so important for teachers in school, it's so important for all staff in school that you are proud of your work. We want you, when you open your books, when you do writing, when you do drawing, when you do sketching, when you do maths, when you do any kind of learning, we want you to be proud of it. We want your books to look like you really care about what you're doing. Even if you don't absolutely feel like that, and I can understand that, it's really important that we give it our best shot. So this video is about how we can make our books look Stukeley smart and Newton neat, okay? We're going to look at several different bits. It's going to be really quick. You can watch this video as many times as you need to, but it's all about keeping our standards high. You're also going to get a chance throughout the year to look at your book with your families, and we want them to see exactly the same kind of pride in your book that we want you to instill. Now, just before we get started, I'm going to use a phrase lots in this video. The phrase is, your next bit of work is your best bit of work. And what I mean by that is, every time you do another bit of learning, another bit of work, it should be just as good or better than the last piece. So your handwriting should be just as good or better. Your maths, your number work should be just as good or better. Your knowledge should be just as good or better. So your next bit of work is your best bit of work. You're going to hear that a lot, and we're going to use it a lot. Let's kick off talking about sticking bits in. Sometimes the staff, sometimes your adults will stick bits of paper into your books for you. Most of the time you'll do it yourself. We need to be really fussy on this. There is no reason why any piece of paper should be sticking out over the edge of the page of the book. Let me give you a quick example. This is a book, I'm only going to show you the backs because you don't need to see names. This is a book which has got lots of paper stuck in it, but nothing is sticking over the edge. It is a perfect book in that everything is stuck beautifully in. This book has got a few bits sticking over the edge. I know it's very small, but it's still getting dirty and tatty, and it's also got some other bits sticking over the edge. This book has got lots coming over the edge. Loads coming over the edge. So, this short video now is about how we stick things into books without that happening. I don't think anybody, you may need a bit of help, but I don't think anybody should be getting this wrong, especially if you concentrate.
Okay, your next bit of work is your best bit of work. So if you found it hard to stick things in the past, now's the time to start improving. This could be any book. Anything you stick into the book is going to fit. Your adults will not give you bits of paper that will not fit. I'm pretty sure of that. So you turn to the next clean page, make sure you haven't missed any pages out. Let's say you need to put a learning focus in here. It might be a sticker, it might be a piece of paper. Here's a learning focus, this is on a sticker. I'm going to peel it off. Now, your teachers might tell you exactly where to put it. They might want it to be this side of the margin or somewhere else. The most important thing for me is that it does not go over the edge of the page. We do not want it, to go over the edge of the page. It has to go just on the inside of the corner, and there should be a gap around the edge like that. I've made a mess of it there, brilliant. Okay, you might have another piece of paper to stick in. Say you've got this piece of paper, for example. Again, the glue goes on the back. I never put glue all the way around the edges. I just put glue in the corners because that's all I need. Bit of glue in the corners. Now, when this gets stuck in, it mustn't go over the edge. It must not go over the middle. It must go just underneath your last piece of learning. Stick it down. There we go. It's not wonky, it's not over the edge. You might get a piece of paper which is almost the same size or the same length as your page. Well, that's fine. Glue in the corners. Remember, it does not go right to the edge. It does not go right to the edge. You leave a gap around the edge, you take your time. Oh, does it go over the middle? Absolutely not. It goes just there on the inside. And finally, one more. You might get a really large sheet to stick in. It does not go that way. It goes the way that it fits. It does not go that way. It goes where it fits. Again, glue in the corners. I put glue in the corners. I do not want it over the middle. I do not want it over the edge. I want it very, very carefully inside the page like that. Now it could also go the other way. Teachers will tell you about the way that they prefer you to do it. And there we go. Carry on doing it.
Using a ruler to draw a line. The deal is that we should be using a ruler every single time we draw a line. I often draw lines on my own little lists or my own notes without a ruler. I don't really enjoy using a ruler, but if it's my school book, if it's my schoolwork, if I'm proud of it, I should be using a ruler every time. Here's a quick clip about how we use rulers and when we use rulers.
Okay, using a ruler. We should be using a ruler for every line that we do in our books. If you're putting a line through a word because it's wrong, use a ruler. If you're putting a line under a word to underline it, use a ruler. If you're drawing lines on a diagram, use a ruler. If you're setting up your page for the right stuff, which lots of you are, now that ruler is obviously not long enough to do that, so we're going to have to talk about a better plan. But if you're drawing long lines, you really need to use a ruler. You really need to use a ruler. And this is how we do it. You put the ruler down. You put one hand on the ruler and you push it down. You keep that hand pushed down, and with your other hand, you carefully run the pencil along the top. One more time, you put the ruler down, wherever you need it. You push it down with one hand, push it down with one hand, and run the pencil along there like that. If you spell a word wrong, oh, that's not right. Use a ruler, put a line through it like that. Okay?
I can't lie. Scribbles, doodles, colouring in the corner of the page, colouring in the inside of letters, that is something which drives me more mad than most things in the world. There's no reason to do it in your books. You might need to do it on a separate piece of paper, but that's your teacher's call, not mine. You no need to do it in books, and it absolutely is the first thing that people see when they look in books. They see that you're not taking pride in your work and you're not looking after your books. So here's a quick bit of information about what we should not be doing in our books. And I'm sad to say, I think a lot more children are doing this than anyone would like.
Scribbles and doodles and drawings and messy lines do not show the learning of somebody who's proud. We're asking you really politely, but we're also telling you, please don't do that in your books. If your teacher or your adults know that you need to do that, maybe to help you concentrate, they'll give you a piece of paper and that will be their decision. But nobody should be doing this in their books. We should not be scribbling out in our books at all. We should not be colouring in the corner of our pages at all. Remember, your next bit of work is your best bit of work. Please do not do this. We should not be drawing lines down the middle because it feels nice going in that little groove. No, we should not be drawing around the edge of our label. No. And we should not be, when we've got worksheets like this, we should not be just colouring things in like this, or just kind of shading. We should not be, unless it's part of the activity and you're asked to shade or scribble, please do not do it. Respect your books, every bit of learning that you do.
Handwriting. I know that we all have our own styles of handwriting. The way I handwrite is very different from Mrs. Page. The way that Mrs. Page writes is very different from Mrs. Grimes-Thomas, the way that Mrs. Grimes... We all have our own style, but the one thing we all have to do, which is the same, is put in the best effort every single time. What I'm finding really difficult is when I look at a child's writing in a book on one page and on the next page it looks completely different. It looks like another child's done it. We know that's not good enough. We know that your next bit of work is your best bit of work. So if you've done lovely handwriting, lovely careful writing of your letters one day, it should be the same the next day and the next and the next. So my main message around handwriting is every time you pick up a pencil or a pen, your style of handwriting, your effort should be exactly the same. Here's an example of this handwriting. We've got a lovely style there. You can see we've got a lovely clear style, and every page, every single page looks like the same child. The same child has done it because the style is the same, and that is super important. Okay? So, I don't have time to tell you how to form all of your letters, how to write on the line, how to do your ascenders and your descenders. Most of you know that, but what you do need to know is that every single time you pick up a pen or a pencil, you use the same style, you take your time, and you make sure it looks like you're writing.
Your next bit of work is your best bit of work. We've talked about this lots. If you're starting on a clean page and you've stuck your learning focus in and any other bits, when you start writing, we always start, you might start on the top line or a second line, your teacher will tell you, we always start writing here. This is where our first letter goes, and then we carry on writing along. Take your time, you've got lines to help you. You know, this is all very basic, but the reminders don't hurt. You write all the way to the end of the line, and when you get to the end here, you do not keep going over. When you get to here, you stop and go back to the margin and the next line. You do not write over the edge. Do not write down the side. Go to the next line each time. Also, if you're finding it hard to write on lines at the minute, then your teacher might, or your adult might give you some lines to write on, so you can do one word on each line. That will really help you with your sentence writing maybe. So take your time on each line. The Forest Federation expectation is Stukeley smart and Newton neat. The Forest Federation expectation is Stukeley smart and Newton neat.